I'm fascinated by any myth, legend, or lore that can strike such fear in the hearts of completely rational people. Doctors, lawyers, police officers, Ivy League graduates, even members of Mensa. So many believers would never question the identity of Lucifer, because they believe the Bible was written by the mind of God and the hand of man, divine inspiration. To question these things is to doubt the perfect mind of God. The phrase, "never underestimate the power of faith," is very true. Faith is tied directly to your ego, and when these two forces get together, they can control your life. Your ego tells your mind that your faith is strong, while your mind is questioning everything and using logic to rationalize these bizarre claims. Over time, the mind surrenders and these important questions fade away as you grow to actually believe in these deities such as the demonic Lucifer. So before we go any further, I'd like to make a list of every chapter and verse in the Bible where Lucifer is mentioned. That's it. That's the only place in the Bible where the word Lucifer can be found, yet somehow this Lucifer becomes synonymous with the devil, Satan, the detested angel, the Lord of Flies, Beelzebub, Little Horn, the Prince of Darkness, and the rest. The Catholic Encyclopedia states the fathers of the Church maintain that Lucifer is not the proper name of the devil. Actually, in some translations, Lucifer is not even spelled with a capital L. And like the word Christ, it's intended to be a title, not a proper name at all. According to most scholars, the Lucifer in the Bible is intended to represent King Nebuchadnezzar, and not a fallen angel from heaven. When dissected down to its etymological roots, the word Lucifer is said to mean light bringer, from Latin lux, meaning light, and ferry, meaning to carry, bear, or bring. And if you're paying close attention, you'll notice that Lucifer is a Latin name, and it found its way into this divinely inspired Hebrew manuscript that was written long before there was ever a Latin language. The truth of the matter is the authors of the Bible read that this Lucifer had fallen from heaven, and they either decided to include it into their mythology, or they simply made a mistake. Consider the symbol of the encircled pentagram. The pentagram is often said to represent Baphomet and Lucifer, but this same symbol has always been symbolic of love, faith, and sexuality. It's a symbol of the goddess Venus. In point of fact, it's the astronomical and astrological representation of the rotating cycle of the planet Venus in its path through the heavens. Venus is the actual morning star. In view of the fact that Venus is extremely close to the Sun, its rotation never moves it very far away from the Sun, from our perspective here on Earth. As we rotate and as Venus rotates, it either rises on our horizon just before the Sun, or if it's on the other side of the Sun from our perspective, it follows the Sun down after sunset. Consequently, it's the morning star, and it's sometimes the evening star. When viewed from Earth, successive inferior conjunctions of Venus plot a nearly perfect pentagram shape around the zodiac every 8 years. One would see a pentagram by picking any sunrise date on which the morning star is prominent, and then repeating this observation at 584-day intervals following that date for 8 years. All of these things are left out of our common teachings, while the symbol itself is demonized, just as are the deities connected with these symbols. Because most Christians openly claim that deities such as Lucifer, Beelzebub, and Satan are the same entity, confusion is plentiful. In point of fact, all secular gods were demonized and thrown into the fires of hell, where they melted into one deity. There's always been a difference between Beelzebub, Lucifer, Satan, and the others. However, these variations are buried beneath Christianity's mountain of fear and disinformation and propaganda. Rather than climbing this mountain to get a clear point of view, so many people instead bow down before it in worship and prayer. For them, the unknown is a gateway to hell. They build boundaries made of fear of the unknown, and fear will almost always triumph over truth. If fear dominates truth, then fear hides the truth, and to occult something is to hide something. Fear of the unknown literally, by process of elimination, manufactures the occult. To say that you study the occult is to say that you study those things which are hidden. Lucifer would make a fantastic talisman for the occult because Christianity's Lucifer is both the spirit of darkness and the bringer of light, a personification of the very word occult. The result of a web search for Lucifer worship will display hatred and finger-pointing, much of which is coming from pro-Christian and or anti-Masonic websites. To quote one of these websites, if people really understood that Masonry is the worship of Satan, no one would join. Now this was said after the setup of Lucifer is this and Lucifer is that, and then they make this familiar leap from Lucifer to Satan. A taste of their own medicine would be something like this. If people were told that Christians partake in rituals where they light candles and chant in Latin and participate in mock blood-drinking rituals, no one would join. Fear and propaganda keep people from an understanding that could change the way they see the world forever. Furthermore, fear keeps people from an understanding that would demand a change in the way they live their lives. For some, it's the fear of change itself that keeps them from wanting to understand many things. Nevertheless, the Christian's point of view may shed some light on both Lucifer and Jesus. Jesus is a deity who demands faith, and Lucifer is a deity who demands proof. And this sparks the age-old conflict between science, proof, and religion, faith. If the Christian idea of Lucifer is to be equal to Satan, well then it must have been Lucifer in the Garden of Eden telling Adam and Eve to eat of the forbidden fruit, thus encouraging them to open their eyes and know the difference between right and wrong for themselves. In this light, Lucifer is also Prometheus, a friend of humankind who stole fire from the gods and gave it to us mortals, quite literally the bringer of light, and reminiscent of the Olympic torchbearer, running toward humankind with fire stolen from the gods. Has Lucifer become an amalgamated mythological deity who is unjustly cast out of heaven, guilty of working to free humankind from ignorance? Perhaps. After all, considering the tale of Prometheus, something other than fire was stolen from the gods and given to humankind in the Garden of Eden. Knowledge, also known as light. Was the sin in the Garden of Eden the fact that Adam and Eve ate from a tree they were told not to eat from? Or was this original sin the fact that they ate from the tree of knowledge? I won't get into the further details connecting Venus to Lucifer except to link them together as so. The snake in the Garden of Eden is Satan. Christianity's Satan is equal to Lucifer. Lucifer is Venus. Venus is Aphrodite. Aphrodite is symbolic of sex, and sexual suppression has been at the top of the Christian agenda for millennia. In Islam, the word Shahatan means God's adversary. It's the root of the English word for Satan. It's been suggested by both fiction and non-fiction writers alike that the Church chose an Islamic word for such a contemptible deity because they consider the Islamic language itself to be dirty. Satan or Lucifer, whatever the title, this deity is a sponge absorbing everything secular and taking the fall for every catastrophe and every misfortune humankind and the Church has ever experienced.